Hey everybody, it's Jim. Welcome back again to my channel. I just wrapped up recording and talking about the Game Master Insights for Star Trek Adventures, and I thought it'd be a natural follow-on to talk about the same thing, but from a player perspective. So if you are not a Game Master interested in Star Trek Adventures, but you are a player thinking about getting into Star Trek Adventures, what are some things you should be thinking about? What kind of things do you want to bring to the game table, virtual or tabletop? What is it going on in your head that makes you want to try out Star Trek Adventures or Star Trek RPG in general? And I thought I'd jump into it. So the great thing about this video is that I've already got a head start because I just did the Game Master video, so now I can use that as a jumping off point to talk about all things player. But I want to keep this player focused so that you don't, if you're a player, you don't have to go watch that 30-minute video about being a game master. It wouldn't hurt, right? Just so that you're aware of what your game master is thinking about, but it's by no means required. So, as a player, you are coming into Star Trek Adventures. Maybe you're curious about the game system. You're curious about the property, the intellectual property. You're curious about the franchise. You've seen an episode or two here and there, or maybe you're a big Star Trek fan and you know everything Star Trek, but you want to play the game. You want to actually play that at the game table with your friends, and have a Star Trek experience at the game table with your fellow people. Just some thoughts. Again, all that is revolving around the why. Like, why do you want to play Star Trek or Star Trek Adventures or Star Trek RPGs in general? There's something about the Star Trek setting, property, franchise, universe, whatever, that's appealing to you or that you're curious about that you want to try out. Sure, great, go for it. It's a 60-year-old property. It's very much focused on diversity, inclusion, equity, the adventure, the strange unknowns, the great mysteries of space, science. But more than anything else, Star Trek explores the human condition. What does it mean to be human, even if it's an alien trying to go through thoughts and feelings? It's just a way to get more depth about ourselves and each other, and how do we live this crazy life, this crazy amazing life with other people, and have some fun along the way, right? I will just assume that you are curious about Star Trek and or Star Trek Adventures, so we'll go from there. Some of the characteristics of a player is, certainly have curiosity, be a learner, be willing to try something new, be willing to be challenged at the game table sometimes. That being said, though, certainly make sure your game master is facilitating a session zero with you and your other players, so that you all have an opportunity to get your voice heard, and like, what kind of things do you want to explore in a game? What kind of things do you not want to explore in a game? What things are you not comfortable about? What are your trigger points? You don't have to go into detail about why, but you can say, this thing I don't want. Like, I don't want to deal with animal cruelty in games. Like, I don't want to deal with it. Or, there's any number of things that are important for safety tools, or lines and veils, X cards, whatever you call it. It's all very, very important. So absolutely make sure that your game master is facilitating in session zero, even if it's a convention adventure. Like, if you're showing up at a game table at a convention and you're starting off with nobody around the table, make sure the game master takes a few minutes to set the ground rules, and just to go around the table, introduce each other, and talk about, well, what are you comfortable with, what are you not comfortable with, what kind of rating what kind of PG rating, PG-13, whatever. How do you want the table to feel? And if it's uncomfortable and it's going in a place that you don't want to go, you are not going to be judged by getting up and leaving. Right? I mean, the life is too short to play a game that's going to threaten your safety or sense of sensibilities or whatever. So anyway, that's probably going off topic just a little bit, but it's important to be aware of. But yeah, so you're familiar. You want to be familiar with the property. Maybe you're already familiar with the property. You want to try out the game. Maybe you're familiar with the game. You want to try the game system as new. You don't need to be familiar with the rule set necessarily, but you need to be familiar with the rules, or you at least need to be willing to learn, right? Or be willing to learn, and that's true for a lot of players. Some players are very comfortable to learn and understand the rule set. If you're the type of player who doesn't like to be taught or like to learn, okay, do your best, I guess, to get into it. But just see how it feels, see how it goes. Star Trek Adventures is not that complicated, unless you really bring in all the rules set. But the core mechanic that's presented in the Quick Start Adventure and the starter set in the core rule book is pretty straightforward. I think you're adding two numbers to create a difficulty to create a target number. Game Master tells you the difficulty. You're rolling two or more d20, trying to roll equal to or under that target number. So it's pretty straightforward. But there's as with any game system, there's lots of nuances. So as a player, you're coming into the game curious, familiar with the rules, or be willing to learn the rules. You have some familiarity with the intellectual property that is Star Trek. Maybe you've watched literally one episode, or you've seen some pictures, like whatever. You don't have to be that familiar with it, but coming to it, you have some concept of what Star Trek means, and in your head, and then you can have a conversation with your group at a session 0 to figure out, okay, what does Star Trek mean to us for the purposes of this game that we're going to run or play together. And then go from there, right? So I think that after 60 years, Star Trek means different things to a lot of different people, means a lot of things to a lot of different people, and it would be useful for you to have that conversation with your group to kind of establish a baseline and talk about it. Be aware of safety tools and good game health. This is true for any group of players, whether you're a player or a game master, because unfortunately, the reality is sometimes in certain games, the game master is the one who unintentionally, or heaven forbid intentionally, instigates some of the negative behavior, and it's got to be the players have to be able to be aware of that and to step up and say, hey game master, that's not cool. Let's take a pause here and course correct. So if the game master is not actively preventing issues, or is the one who is instigating the issues, the other players need to be able to step up and say, hey, that's not cool. And that might be you. You might be the only person observing it, and you might be put into a position where you're the only person who can speak up, right? So it's important to see something, say something, even in a game situation, because life is short, right? We don't want to play a game that we're going to be uncomfortable in, or that other people are uncomfortable in. So say something. So anyway, take that ownership into yourself as best as you can. Prep work. Okay, so this was originally for the game masters doing prep work, but for players, you get out of it what you put in, and I think this is really true for Star Trek Adventures, particularly because this game system, this rule set, any character advancement that happens is like 99.9% driven by the players. And if you're unsure about what I'm talking about, go check out Guy Slanders. He's got some great videos about reputation and character development. I'm sure I'll do some eventually too, but Guy's a great guy. Guy's a great guy. And you should go check out his stuff. But we had a recent conversation with him, or I had a recent conversation with him where we talked about it, and John, who was also a guest there. And Star Trek Adventures second edition in particular, especially, I mean, it was true in first edition, but we were able to focus it and lens it in a little bit for second edition, where your character advancement is entirely on you as a player, right? So it's on you to really think about what values am I using in a game session? Am I using determination? How are my values changing? Or am I testing my values? Am I challenging my values? Or am I just using my values? But like everything about character advancement in the system is based on you using your values and changing those values and earning milestones. And unlike other game systems, as a player, you can't really just kind of sit back and let the experience points accumulate, or the power points, or like whatever you want to call them, whatever your game system is that creates, right? There's no leveling in Star Trek Adventures. There's no power-ups in Star Trek Adventures per se. Any character development that happens is driven by your actions as a player. Like the things that you choose your character to do are going to influence your character, and as your character learns and grows, it's all that whole circle is driven by you specifically as the player. And the side bonus of that is, if you don't want to improve your character, you can use those improvements on supporting characters, on your ship, other things. So you can actually have as a player, you can have a hand and how the entire campaign shapes and grows, because you can develop characters, you can develop supporting characters, you can change your ship, you can, I mean, there's just so much you can do, but all of it is driven by you, by your choices. So when I'm talking about prep work, then is when you come into the game at session 0, your group is probably talking about, are you going to use the life path to create your characters, or are you going to use the creation and play method? There's pros to both approaches. I don't know that there's necessarily any cons to either approach. It just depends on what you want as a group and for your player characters. Do you want a lot of depth from the very beginning using the life path so that you know all the steps of their life and have a fully formed, fleshed out character at the beginning? Or are you not sure? Are you flexible? Or you just kind of want to let it grow organically, much as how the characters on the TV shows grow and change organically? Because the TV shows start off with a series Bible and maybe a couple paragraphs about a character, and they may not have all the details. They don't have any idea what the actor is going to bring to it, or what the writers are going to bring to it in upcoming shows and episodes. So you might choose to approach it that way, right? You might say, you know what, I'm going to use creation and play, and then just kind of like pick one value, pick one focus, and then just kind of grow it organically from there. There's either approach is equally valid, but everybody in the group should probably use the same approach, so that there's a certain level of equity and balance in the game as you go. But even outside of that, as a player, you could choose to develop a backstory for your character. Where are they from? What do they do? What's important? Do they have any secrets? Like one of the recent supplements offers up the possibility of having secret values, secret focuses, like secrets to your character. Because we see in Star Trek throughout the franchise, certain characters have certain things in their backstory that nobody else knows until the dramatically appropriate time, and that's an opportunity for you to build that into your character, so that some point down the road you can say, oh, but this thing was happening, but my character is secretly something, and that's a big dynamic reveal, and then you go on from there. But that prep work, though, is something that you can work on if you're really excited about it. You can work on it with your game master and say, hey, I got this really cool character concept. I'm going to create this kind of character, but they have this secret that I want to reveal X number of sessions into the game, or X number of episodes into the game, and work with the game master, have that conversation with the fellow players at session 0, and say, hey, are we going to use secrets? Are we going to have secrets from each other? Are we going to be like, have things going on that we don't know about? Some groups are comfortable with that. Some groups are not. Certainly get on the same page with everybody there. But that's all prep work that is on you, if you so choose to do it. You don't have to, right? I've had plenty of players in my games over the years just show up to play, and they've got the character sheet, and that's it. They don't do any outside writing. They don't do any blogs. They don't do any extracurricular type stuff, and that's totally okay, right? I mean, me personally, I'm a writer, right? So I always write short stories and backstories and stuff about my characters willy-nilly all over the place, because I just love to tell stories and create stories. But I don't expect that of my players, because it could be construed as work. I do reward it sometimes. I give out a point of determination or some momentum or something, just to give them a little carrot, just to make them happy. But more often than not, I don't, because it's just the reward is in the work that they've done, right? Somebody shows up at my game session with a short story about their character. I'm going to read it, and I'm going to be like, that was awesome. You've added more texture and body to our campaign, and that's awesome. It's fantastic when that happens, and I always want more, right? Because I'm greedy like that. But you shouldn't be expected to do that. It's just if that's something that you want to do. And I think if you get into Star Trek Adventures and you're really enjoying it, you will probably naturally feel those creative pulses and urges to want to do more for your character and for your game. And that's where it's nice. You could even grab Captain's Log and do some solo stuff with your character. Certainly not required, but there's that possibility. Getting off topic here just a little bit. Back to characteristics of a good player, or an effective player. Like who can define what a good player is? Not me. It wouldn't hurt for you to be familiar with the scene structure and story beats of a typical TV show. As I mentioned in the Game Master video, in this day and age, I think so many of us have watched movies and television that the general flow of a filmed story is kind of ingrained into our heads at this point. So you kind of got a feel for the scene beats and the story beats and the structure of things. And as you get into the role playing, as you get more comfortable with your character and your fellow characters and your fellow players, you'll start getting into scenes and you'll start feeling that rhythm. You'll start feeling that dialogue rhythm to where you'll say something really snappy and it'll be like, oh, that's a great line to end this scene on. Let's cut scene here and go on to the next scene. That it'll happen naturally. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Eventually, give it enough time. Give it time. Give yourself time to get into your character. Give the other players time to get into their characters. Give the game master time to get flexible and comfortable with what they're doing. And you'll feel like once your group gets into that zone and gets into that vibe, you'll be snapping off dialogue and scenes back, bam, 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 and you'll just be flying through the story, developing it together organically, and you'll have an amazing game experience. So don't force it, and don't worry about it. Right, just enjoy it because it'll happen. I've seen it like every single time I've run games for Star Trek Adventures, and every single time I've just been a player, it happens. And I think part of it's because even if players aren't familiar with Star Trek, we know subconsciously we know the flow. We know the flow of a TV show. We know the snap, 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 cut, cut, cut. Commercial break. Let's go take a bio break, or refresh our snacks and drinks. Oh, now we're back into it, and then you're back into the scenes, and you're back into the flow of a game session. So anyway, it doesn't hurt to be familiar with it. Not required. I mean, you don't have to. There's no homework you have to do other than watch Star Trek and oh whoa, you gotta watch more Star Trek. Let's see, other characteristics to know for a player. Is there anything else I haven't included? I think those are the big ones, really. We're 17, 18 minutes into it here. I guess things I look for in players is willingness to work together, being a team player. I think unlike other RPGs out there, Star Trek Adventures is not really suited for the lone wolf type of character. Like if you're the type of player who wants to kind of do their own thing and you just happen to be part of this group for whatever reason, but you're really comfortable just going off and doing your own thing. If you're in a Star Trek game and your group wants to do a Starfleet type of game, it's kind of hard to make the lone wolf kind of work because 99% of the Star Trek shows we've seen with a Starfleet team, away team, bridge crew, whatever, they're working together. They're using their assist mechanics. They're helping each other be successful. And a lone wolf doesn't quite fit that mold. Just by the nature of it. So think about what kind of a player you are, right? Are you a lone wolf type? Are you a team player type? Or are you some other type? And how can you make that work within your game, within your group's context, right? Are you? Yeah, again, this all comes down to session 0. Have that conversation with your players or with your fellow players and with your game master to say, oh, in other games I've tended to be kind of the solo body out here doing my own thing, but I really want to try to be more of a team player here. How can we make that happen? Or maybe you are a team player and you know that one of the other players tends to like to play the lone wolf. Maybe that's an opportunity for you to reach out to that player and say, hey, maybe your player, maybe your character and my character know each other, and we can build a little mutual backstory together and bring that to the game. And then all of a sudden you've got some connection, you got some connective tissue between your characters, and you can pull on that during the game sessions to do interesting things. And the game master can pull on that too and say, oh, hey, you two know each other, so we can add more elements to that story. So as a player, that's driven by you. Like it's on you to decide whether you want to reach out to the other players to build some of that connective tissue with each other, so that you're not starting those first couple sessions all new to each other on the ship. You don't know who anybody is, new ship, new crew, etc. Or maybe you are all brand new lower deckers on the ship for the first time and you don't know anything, and you have to get through that whole initial we meet in a tavern kind of thing, or we meet in 10 forward and go from there. So lots of things to play with there. I think that's the key thing. I mean, nice to haves as a player is it's nice if players are familiar with the rule set. Certainly not required, because the expectation is that the game master will teach you the game, and will guide you through the game session. If rule questions come up, they're the final adjudicator or final arbiter of choices for establishing the rules. But for games, it doesn't hurt for a player to occasionally crack open the core book and review the rules, right? So it's, I mean, and that's me speaking as a game master who always wants to empower my players to learn the rules and learn what's on your character sheet, and don't constantly have to ask, hey game master, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? What can I do here? What can I do here? It's like, look at your character sheet and understand what's on your character sheet, and or let's talk about it. If maybe you have maybe you need some help processing what's on the character sheet, right? That's totally valid. But have that conversation, right? Ideally, every player is familiar with their character and knows what their character is capable of, so that the game master doesn't have to constantly prompt somebody and say, oh, you might have a value that's relevant here, or you might have a focus that's relevant here. It should really be on the player saying, hey, I've got this focus. Can I use this focus in this situation? Or, hey, I've got this value. I believe I'm going to challenge this value because it's directly relevant to the game situation that's happening right now. So be familiar. You don't have to be familiar with the rules necessarily, but be familiar with what's on your character sheet, and whatever devices or tools or whatever that you need to most easily understand what your character is capable of. Do that. Work with your game master and your fellow players to develop those tools. Like, do you need a card with all the text written down? Do you need page number references to the core book? Do you what do you need, right? Like whatever's in your way of effectively playing that character and having fun, figure out how to work with your group to figure out how to streamline that, so that there's less friction, so that you're able to get into the game and just get playing. Hope that makes sense. Anyway, I think that's enough for now. Any thoughts, comments, certainly drop them below. Like and subscribe as usual. If you are a player for Star Trek Adventures, what did I miss? What kind of characteristics or expectations or whatever do you have coming into the game? What would you want prospective players to know coming into the game that they should be aware of, or that they can be thinking about? Drop your thoughts below. Would love to hear them. Would love to hear your insights. I hope you're enjoying it. Please let me know what kind of other content you would like related to this game for Star Trek Adventures, Star Trek RPGs in general. I hope you have fun with the game, no matter what you're doing with it. And have a great day, and I'm sure I'll talk to you next time. Be well.